Good morning. Morning, everybody. Wow, this is a great facility, a great place to be able to have this conversation, be able to project things. I think you'll see. I certainly hope everybody can have a pretty good perspective of the images and be able to tell a pretty strong story this morning. I'm Rob Gottschalk from Vandewalle and Associates, and we've been working over the last several months with a variety of players led by Dennis and a very passionate team that we call the core team on beginning to define a future economic vision for Jefferson County. I'd also like to say that we are very excited to be working on this. We're very involved with a lot of different communities here in Jefferson County, and it's exciting to be able to kind of begin to very much look forward at a future setting project. So this is an exciting time. I don't want to do a big Vandewalle commercial, but I do think it's important a little bit to understand just who we are, what we're up to, how we think, and what role we're playing in this project with a lot of other players. Many of you know or may recognize our company from long-standing relationships with a lot of the communities in this area and throughout the state in comprehensive planning and redevelopment planning and downtown work. But we also have a team that very much focuses on regional economic positioning. And so you might ask, how did a company that really focused in land use planning and development consulting kind of evolve into having a niche in regional economic positioning? And that's a good question. But what's happened over the years is we have spent an enormous amount of time over the last 15 or 20 years working deep inside and alongside major corporations in the Midwest like Deere & Company, Caterpillar, and others, on helping rebuilding their cities, the cities that they have major employment in. So that's helped us stay very close to the technology front. We really understand where the economy is going. And it also provides us a real strong standpoint from which to understand what the issues that face major businesses today. We also, at the same time, we're working with communities from rural townships to major cities, so we understand those issues as well as the regional issues of today that were talked to earlier. So with all that kind of knowledge and experience, I think basically we've assembled a team, multidisciplinary team that focuses on repositioning and rebuilding cities in the Midwest. So kind of armed with this knowledge, we've been working in several different areas, and again, I'm saying this just to provide some context to work we've been doing over the last several years. We worked down in the Quad Cities and the Cedar River Valley communities in Iowa, spent a lot of time working between Madison and Chicago on the I-90 corridor. Recently worked with Raphael and Reddy with the Collaboration Council and now most recently with Milwaukee 7, with Jim and others, as well as the state of Wisconsin. So what is this economic positioning? Well, simply put, it's really identifying our inherent advantages and really try to align them and make sure they're aligned with global trends. It's about forging new economic identity and putting forth a vision that hopefully differentiates you from the pack. And then you have to define what are the catalytic projects, what are the initiatives that you need to undertake to move towards that vision. So how do we do it? Very much take an asset-based approach. We build on your unique place-based assets. We really believe strongly that you don't start with the problem. You utilize your assets to overcome those challenges. Obviously, you have to recognize the challenges, but don't dwell on them. So that really starts with a lot of what you're going to hear today, which is identification of your economic, your human, your physical, place-based assets. And that comes from both local within the county and then within this kind of bigger regional context as well. Those need to be translated into opportunities and community building initiatives. And then to build a vision. I want to stress vision, and you heard it before, is a very important component. I mean, this is what enables us to begin to see beyond what is to what could be. And it really, what it does is it helps motivate a lot of different players to get involved, to get aligned, and kind of enlisted to a greater cause. So it's very important to kind of get all the ships pointed in one direction. And that's, from what we've heard, that was a very important part of this project right now. And then it moves obviously into identifying and aligning with a comprehensive plan and implementation strategy, and then actually doing it. So, what kind of ground are we going to cover today? We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about what's going on around us, both regionally and globally. Talk a little bit about the state of Jefferson County today, what the key economic assets are, and just touch on some of the initial opportunities that have surfaced. Some of this is going to be old hat, you know, for a lot of you that really understand and know the county well, but I think what we wanted to do, because this is going to be a long process and there's going to be a lot of discussions going forward, is just to make sure that everybody's on equal footing. I'd also like to say up front, we have an enormous amount to kind of cover today, and you'll see that this is going to be more scripted than I would like, but we've realized from experience if we don't do that, you know, we're going to be here till noon, and I don't think that's the interest of anybody. So let's get rolling here. Let's start with what's going on around us. Now don't worry, when you see this slide, I'm not going to do a Carl Sagan and start talking about the galaxy or anything like that. But we do want to touch on a few global trends that impact us all and our rapidly changing economy. A major portion of the global economy is really driven by very basic human needs. The need for food, like to have a roof over our heads, energy, air, and water. So the global economy is really driven by human consumption and consumer demand. As we evolve and technology advances, our demands continue to grow beyond those basics. For example, you know, health. We want to live longer, so it really helps drive healthcare. Research are really becoming paramount. As we grow wealthier, we consume more and we demand more products. And also, we have a just enormous thirst for limitless communication today. Travel, entertainment, our quest for greater knowledge and new discoveries drive huge economies. Today, there's also many forces that are shaping and acting on this global economy. Population was mentioned earlier. Globally, we're adding a city the size of Madison every day. We're becoming painfully aware that we do have limited resources, and we're clearly starting to rub up against the Earth's carrying capacity. As our population and consumption grows, we're clearly changing our climate, a big topic of discussion today that's shaping the economy. Safety, security, terrorism, turf battles, all of those things are high in everybody's minds and affect the economy. We have an aging population, both here and in many other countries. And so global health and epidemics receive a lot of deserved attention. Globalization, big word in today's economy, and major shifts in global labor markets affect us all and certainly are hitting home here in Wisconsin, whether it's low-cost manufacturing in Asia or increased agriculture and food production in South America. I want to take just a moment or two to touch on two kind of overarching economic movements that are afoot that I think the core team wanted me to talk about that are very much relevant to Jefferson County. One of those is the innovation economy, and the other is the clean and green economy. Simply defined, let's start with the innovation economy. It's really a future based on selling knowledge and high-value services and products. As we shift from the industrial economy to the knowledge and innovation economy, we're going to rely a lot more on our brains and our backs especially here in the U.S. as labor markets begin to shift to manufacturing jobs overseas. So at this point, innovation is critical to all sectors of the economy. So with that, building and linking to innovation capacity is essential for our economic future of this county. And key ingredients of an innovation economy really include access to highly educated workforce as well as to major research institutions. From an economic development perspective, there's several things to keep in mind. One, to compete, we have to continually adapt to change, something we don't really enjoy doing very much, but it is definitely part of our world economy and our everyday lives today. Collaboration, a lot of discussion about that this morning. Very important. Innovation is a team sport. It has players from universities, industry, government, and that plays out both geographically, regionally, but also within industry sectors. Very important. You got to build on your assets and strengths. Things move and change too fast. It's very hard to start from scratch. And then finally, the knowledge workforce really demands vibrant communities to live in. So that always puts a lot of emphasis on the quality of our communities. Second, an emerging economic movement is the clean and green economy. You're going to find that we're pretty bullish about this one. Driven by all the forces that I mentioned earlier, from the rapid advancement of technology, the consumer consciousness and change, government mandates, it's clear that businesses and regions that adapt and focus on this are going to be the ones that are going to be winners in the future. And when I describe this, and I'll get into it in a little bit more detail, this is not a grassroots movement anymore. Mainstream giants in markets spanning consumer products, banking, airlines, chemicals have all embraced programs not only to shrink their company's impact on the environment, but also to cash in on the consumer's desire to go green. So in many ways, large and small, the notion of going green is also reshaping product development and marketing strategies. Just a few examples that you see on your screen. Our biggest, our state's biggest corporation, Johnson Controls, major player in the hybrid battery industry and green building systems globally. Toyota Motor Company, obviously the leader in hybrid technologies and vehicles, now very focused on bioplastics, and their production is expected to grow into a $38 billion business by 2020. They want to control over 2/3 of the world's supply by 2020. Walmart, the retail giant, is really pushing its 60,000 suppliers to produce eco-friendly goods and to double the fuel efficiency of the truck fleet during the next 10 years. Those have just monumental shifts in the way we will do business in the future. And then even, Ken Hendricks, our celebrated entrepreneur from Beloit, and he's just recently, was it last year, on the cover of Inc. magazine as the entrepreneur of the year. His biggest focus is on creating new businesses from household and industrial waste. That's where he sees huge opportunity, and that's where he's sending a lot of his directions of his companies. So from our perspective, if your company is merely focused to meet the standards, I think savvy, innovation-based companies are just going to pass you by. And I fear that some Midwest corporations and suppliers will not focus on the efficiency and green products, start to lose market share, and kind of follow in the footsteps of Detroit and the U.S. automakers. So while we bicker about holding down the standards, I'm more, kind of worried that Asia and Europe is going to kind of eat our lunch by staying focused on the rapid escalating expectations of the consumer market. And I think, just this slide alone, when you see the world's major corporations as well as our chronic entrepreneurs focusing on a market, I think it's safe to say that it's as much of an economic movement as an environmental one. So what does this mean? What's the clean and green economy? It cuts across nearly all economic sectors, from building systems to new bioplastics, energy-efficient machines, and the tools and machines to build new products of the future. Our region has the opportunity to lead in many of these categories, but it'll have to make rapid moves to take a leadership position. So, I'm going to give you a little bit of baseline about some of the things that are going on. These global economic trends are kind of playing themselves out in regions throughout the globe. But let's take a little look at some of the Midwest strengths and some of what's going on in our part of the world. We are part of the Great Lakes economic region. It's safe to say that the Great Lakes are perhaps the most recognizable geographic feature on the North American continent. When you add the 8 states and 2 provinces together, shown in blue, the Great Lakes region hosts the 3rd largest economy in the world. The gross product of this Great Lakes international economy would be twice that of China and falls short of only the United States and Japan, according to World Business Chicago research. This area also represents a large economic market base. The region is home to nearly 100 million people who share similar values and 4-season lifestyle. Regionally, we're at the convergence of 4 major natural assets. We lie between the greatest agricultural resources in the world, the largest freshwater resource in the world, the northern timberlands, and the Mississippi River Basin. These 4 forces overwhelmingly shape our economy and our culture. As a mentor of mine, Phil Lewis, would say, we're centered within a circle city of 20 million people, a regional population that rivals any in the country. And clearly, our regional economies are diverse, and they reflect those 4 geographic forces in our region. They include timber and tourism in the north, shipbuilding in Door County, heavy manufacturing, tool making, beverage making in the Milwaukee area, ag, machinery, and in the industrial towns in the Mississippi River Basin. Jefferson County rubs up against the Chicago-Milwaukee megacity. At 10 million people, it is one of the 3 largest regional population centers in the country, along with LA and New York. Globally, there are about 20-25 megacities, but only a handful with the corporate, financial, and intellectual capacity that the Chicago-Milwaukee corridor does. Locally, Jefferson County sits between, obviously, the Madison metro area, home to one of the world's greatest research institutions and a very fast-growing, emerging biotech commercialization center, and Milwaukee, our state's financial and corporate center. The Milwaukee 7 region is home to 15 Fortune 500 companies, rich with engineers, craftsmen, and an urban workforce. Our neighbors to the east, Waukesha County, holds a wealth of seasoned business executives, managerial talent drawn to the lake districts and kettle moraine landscape to live, as well as a strong printing and plastics cluster, as well as GE. In this context, Jefferson County is really blessed with this small-town living environment and a strong agricultural, food processing, and manufacturing economy. We've also taken the time to begin to generally map the economic cluster locations in southeastern Wisconsin. Jefferson County is the square, just to get you oriented. Here's Lake Michigan. The square in the middle is Jefferson County. Economic cluster locations really can just simply be defined as areas that have measurably high number of employees in a particular industry. So to the east, we have this, we really have the small engine capital of the world with Briggs and Harley, Kohler, Mercury Marine, a robust printing industry with Quad Graphics throughout Waukesha and Ozaukee counties, food processing and manufacturing in Janesville, Beloit, and Rockford corridor to the south, and insurance, government, education, healthcare, biotech, and biomedical in Dane County. And here, we're at the center of food processing, manufacturing, and really a niche with bicycle construction with Trek. We have a healthy economic diversity in southeastern Wisconsin, and that's really an asset long term, I think, that will play out. We also have exciting new directions and economic opportunities. Between the regional economic groups like Milwaukee 7 and Ready, and the efforts also of the major cities of Milwaukee and Madison combined, there will be an extra attention focused on growing these place-based and emerging economic clusters. Capital Region is a growing hub for just about everything bio, and strong and growing agricultural economy, a healthcare, wellness, and medical and research center that's really beginning to receive a lot of national attention. The Milwaukee region, manufacturing powerhouse focused on advancing the next generation of manufacturing, really to ensure that they remain globally competitive. Clean and green technology development and becoming a global center point for fresh water research and technology development are emerging directions in the Milwaukee area. With GE, the Milwaukee Regional Medical Center, and the UW School of Engineering, there's also an emerging biomedical medical device industry in the M7 area. I'd also like to draw attention to two state and regional initiatives that really very much fit the assets of Jefferson County. First, I would imagine you may have heard that UW-Madison will be home to the Great Lakes BioEnergy Research Center. And the early focus of this center is going to be conducting basic research towards a suite of new technologies to help convert cellulosic plant biomass, so corn stalks, wood chips, native grasses, any of those things, into sources of energy from everything from cars to power plants. So Jefferson County's biofuel players that we're certainly getting a collection of and talent and infrastructure through this corridor, as well as our small engine companies, are going to need to get connected with these efforts as they begin to unfold. Another initiative that I think is very relevant for Jefferson County is also in the world of agriculture and food production. There's a major effort underway to develop a strategy with the goal of increasing locally produced food consumption from 2% to 10% in the 11 million person population center of Chicago, Milwaukee, and Madison. You say, why a local food focus? For all sorts of reasons. One, food security, which I mentioned earlier, is going to continue to be a point of emphasis from the federal government over the coming years. Fuel costs, obviously, are on the rise. So transporting food equals increased costs. A growing consumer consciousness and demand, obviously market demand, and a desire for freshness. So local is becoming the new organic. Consumers are rapidly shifting their buying habits, and nearly a quarter of American shoppers now buy organic products once a week, up from 17% in 2000. The Chicago food world and grocers are clamoring for Wisconsin products. Jefferson County is in the center of this ring and has a great opportunity to serve this growing market. At this point, I think we'd like to narrow our lens a little bit from the broader region right down to Jefferson County. I just want to start with the basics, and you'll hear more from Giuliana in a few minutes. Jefferson County has a population of just over 80,000 people, a workforce of 41,000. The manufacturing sector averages about 10,000 jobs and over $400 million in annual payroll. Manufacturing and agriculture are the county's economic drivers. You heard Jim talk about that earlier. Retail and healthcare are the leading service industries. A lot of our focus will be on growing and ensuring that those export driver industries remain globally competitive here in Jefferson County. Export drivers are the industries that export goods and services outside the county and are the foundation that this county's economy is built upon. The bubbles shown on the left of this screen represent kind of the unusually high number of employees here in the county compared to state and national benchmarks. So these are kind of our niche economies where we really have a locational advantage and strength. Jefferson County has a unique mix of niche economic sectors. The county is clearly heavy in manufacturing, but it's diverse. We make bikes, small engines, we got a lot of metal manufacturers, machinists, plastics, furniture, and clearly have a strong food economy. We are the egg capital of the state. There's no doubt about that from reviewing the numbers. And produce a lot of milk and processed meats. While the county has a strong and diverse economy, there are trends that we truly need to keep an eye on. I think this first one tends to grab a lot of people's attention. Between 2001 and 2006, Jefferson County lost over 250 jobs, while Dane County and Waukesha added a total of 30,000. Between 2000 and 2005, manufacturing employment declined by nearly 2,000 jobs, or 15%. Nearly 40% of Jefferson County's working residents had jobs in other counties. So it's really no surprise that you start to see more growth happening along the 94 corridor. The Jefferson County business executives also report that they're having the greatest difficulty recruiting for professional and technical workers. 50% reported difficulty recruiting for professional and technical staff. Another 27% say they have difficulty recruiting for blue-collar workers. The county and the nation's workforce is also aging. There's no doubt about that. And as the boomers begin to retire, there's going to be an enormous battle for talent. So that's going to have to stay on the front burner of the thinking throughout this process. These are clearly things that we have to keep in mind as we all work towards developing a vision and a strategy for the future. With all those things I've touched on so far, we've summarized what we believe are Jefferson County's key economic assets. I'm going to turn things over to Giuliana for a little bit, who's going to talk a little bit about some of the key assets of Jefferson County. I would also like to say that this is all based on our initial research. You know, we haven't gone out, we haven't had a lot of discussions with you, and we very much are looking forward to that, and we assume that these things will evolve, they're going to grow, and we're really looking forward to your thoughts as well.
Great. Thanks, Rob, and thanks everyone for having us. Again, I'm Giuliana Presti, also with Vandewalle & Associates. I've been spending a fair amount of time working in Jefferson County in various communities, City of Jefferson, City of Watertown, Lake Mills. I did some work there too. So for me, it's really exciting to step back and really look at the economic assets of the community overall, or of the county overall. So I'm going to first launch into what these general categories are of economic assets. These will inform the county's economic opportunities and the vision for Jefferson County, and Rob will get into that a little bit more in the end of the presentation. The assets identified so far include regional location, agriculture and food, corporate presence and manufacturing diversity, emerging bioenergy, water and natural resources, small town living, and cultural heritage. There, of course, could be more, and as we continue to work with the community and talk with you, we'll find out if there's something maybe we're missing. I'll discuss each of these in a little bit more detail in the following slides. But first, I think it's hard to think about today's assets without an understanding of the past. So we did our homework. We even read a couple of history books. I would recommend this book by the Jefferson County Historic Alliance. It was a quick read, very interesting, a lot of good historic photographs. And we learned a lot about the county. So like most of Wisconsin, the glaciers back 15,000 years ago really played a big role in the landscape and early economics. Jefferson County was at the front end of two lobes of the last glacier that left us with rich soils, drumlins, wetlands, and major riverways. Ho-Chunk, Potawatomi, and the earlier mound-building builders were our first known settlers. The county was booming in the 1800s when logs were floated down the Rock and the Crawfish from the North Woods and milled in the small towns along the Rock River. Milling, furniture, and other wood products were the early economic drivers of the county. Milling of wheat and other grains from the fields were also strong. In the late 1800s, dairy farming became king and still is. So while many ethnic origins are represented here today, we just found it interesting to point out kind of the ethnic settlement patterns, probably not surprising to most of you. The German influence is still alive and well, as evident in local culture and traditions, such as the annual Gemütlichkeit Days in Jefferson. I don't know if I murdered that name, but tried for it there. And along with those traditions, there's also the character traits of the German culture, which play an important role in your business, your residential communities, and your government structure. Some of those traits are hardworking and creative, thorough and orderly, sincere, loyal, polite, and of course stubborn. It's a joke. I'm German too. So now I'm going to get into more specifically what the assets are. A lot of these aren't going to be surprising as it all ties into the global and regional discussion that Rob already got into. The first one is regional location. Clearly a key asset in our location in between a global research center of Madison and a coastal manufacturing and finance center of Milwaukee and Chicago region. The area within this bubble on the map represents a population of over 11 million people. So Jefferson County's location within the middle of this is obviously very important and a great asset. Here we have a strong regional transportation infrastructure and Chicago, one of the world's greatest cities. The strong regional transportation network with Interstate 94 bisecting the county and Highway 26 being the county's north-south backbone is very important, as well as connecting communities to the interstate or to I-90, which can lead you right to Chicago. This regional location is also important in terms of the commute. Of the 39,000 Jefferson County commuters, 24,000 commute within Jefferson County. A growing percentage of the county's workforce is commuting to Dane and Waukesha counties. Over 4,000 employees cross the county line from Dodge County for work in Jefferson County. So I think the size of those arrows really shows you the magnitude of what we're talking about and maybe reversing some of those trends to bring some more of the employment into the county as well. The next asset that we identified is agriculture and food. The agriculture and food economies are strong and diverse in Jefferson County. About 70% of the county is in agricultural uses. Agriculture generates $1.5 billion in annual economic activity. This is about 33% of the county's total economic activity. Jefferson County agriculture provides nearly 11,000 jobs, about 23% of the county's total workforce. So Jefferson County's strength is really in its great agricultural diversity. Dairy is clearly the leader, but we are also a major grain producer and have niches in nursery and sod, vegetables, aquaculture, nutraceuticals with standard process in Palmyra. And also the county is blessed with a long, strong history in state and national agricultural leadership, from the historical leadership of Arthur Horde, Milo Jones, William McKay, to Tom Lyons and Dan Polson, who are leaders of today. This historic and continued leadership has built a strong agricultural preservation culture in terms of the Farmland Preservation Plan, zoning, local plans, as people have already mentioned today. And just as agricultural production is diverse, so is the food processing. This graphic here highlights food processors, and the colors communicate the type of product. The map highlights also today's farmers markets and a growing network of fresh market farms. So it's interesting to look at the clustering, and obviously it's around your small towns and villages. Such food processing centers are Tyson, Encore Frozen Foods, Jones Dairy Farm, Standard Process, Nestle Purina, Wispac, Johnsonville Sausage, and Jim's Cheese Pantry, to name a few. The next topic or regional asset is the corporate presence in manufacturing diversity. Jefferson County has a strong corporate presence, as we've mentioned. The county is home to major corporations with household names like Briggs & Stratton, Trek, Tyson, Generac, Space Saver. And as we have mentioned before, the manufacturing and major employer diversity is really a great asset. The next asset is emerging bioenergy. As Rob had mentioned earlier, another key asset of this emerging infrastructure is the talent and focus on bioenergies and fuels. This part of the state is seeing rapid growing investment in the biofuel infrastructure. This map here illustrates some, based on the size of the circles, it really shows the importance of this in the county economy. As mentioned, Renew Energy ethanol plant is Wisconsin's 7th and largest ethanol plant, which will produce 130 million gallons of fuel annually. The Deer Track Park landfill gas-to-energy plant right now is providing power to 2,500 homes, and they're expanding to double this by this month, based on the last projections. There will be more attention on landfills in the future, not only for energy, but also for material recovery. The next asset is water and natural resources. We have a rich supply of fresh water. The two major rivers, the Rock and Crawfish, are at the heart of Fort Atkinson, Jefferson, and Watertown. There are 13 lakes in Jefferson County which present recreational opportunities. It is really clear that we have an abundant and complex network of natural resources. So with this series, we'll just continue to add, and it'll kind of show the strong network. Tremendous effort has been put forth to acquire, preserve, and restore wetlands in the county, including the 2,700 acres of the Jefferson Wildlife Area wetlands, the 1,700 acres of wetlands in the Lake Mills area. Jefferson County is a groundwater recharge area also for the southeast Wisconsin and Rock Basin, which puts you in a strong position as we hear about water issues with our neighboring counties. Environmental corridors. Together, the water-based assets combined with major wetlands create a tremendous network of environmental corridors. And as we'll see on the next slide, there's a long commitment and investment in the creation of public land areas. 8,300 acres of land are currently in the county's Conservation Reserve Program, or CRP. So it's clearly a very important asset and something people are working very hard to maintain. The next slide, as was mentioned, the Glacial Heritage Area, there's already a group spending a lot of time and effort on bringing forth the commitment to water and natural resources, preservation, recreation, and tourism. This primary goal of this project is to meet the demand for recreational activities in the state by setting aside lands for hiking, biking, wildlife watching, camping, horseback riding, fishing, hunting, boating, and other activities. This area already boasts 1 state park, 11 large state wildlife areas, 12 state natural areas, the 52-mile Glacial Drumlin Trail, the Glacial River Trail, numerous county parks, and lands owned by private conservation groups. Groups including the Rock River Coalition, the DNR, the county, and other organizations are committed to the area's environmental health and expansion of the recreational opportunities in the county. The next asset is small town living. This is really a strength for Jefferson County with the prevalence of unique small communities dedicated to retaining their identities in the future. In the recent public participation efforts of the local comprehensive plans, participants chose small town atmosphere as one of the most important reasons they chose to live in Jefferson County. So the county has over 12 identifiable and distinct communities. So this is really a strong asset, and we need to understand why people are choosing to live in this type of environment, as many of you here probably are. We understand that positive aspects of this type of lifestyle include close-knit community bonds, reduced stress in day-to-day living, and also affordable living that small towns often afford. As metro regions on either side of Jefferson County continue to grow, the county will grow more and more attractive to a portion of the regional workforce looking for this type of lifestyle and small town living. As we touched on before a little bit, the last asset of cultural heritage. Cultural heritage of Jefferson County has shaped the traditional towns and created some of this small town living strength. You have a string of pearls of wonderful historic downtown communities along the river, and through this process we want to make sure that these assets are maintained and kept in strong check. The native archaeological sites, earth and effigy mounds, and celestial stone monuments in Jefferson County, especially in the area of Lake Mills and Aztalan, are rich in ancient history and legend. Aztalan actually is considered by many to be one of the most important archaeological sites in Wisconsin, with earthen pyramids partially surrounded by a tall stockade, thought to be built by mound building or Middle Mississippian culture. And then in more recent history, as previously mentioned, the strong German heritage has shaped the county's cultural heritage, including the result of the first kindergarten, the strong work ethic, and events celebrating German heritage throughout the county. So this is only a summary of the county's key assets, and as we continue to work with you in the JCEDC, we will develop an even deeper understanding of the county's assets, particularly through the development of economic opportunities. So I'm now going to turn it back over to Rob, who will start to delve into these initial opportunities and leading into the vision. Thank you.